Today I've been doing some experiments with this full send LR 3000 milliamp hour 6S VT6 Lion pack, which I got from Drone Authority, who kindly sent these to me to try out, as well as the 4S pack as well. But I had an idea to go with the 6S pack because our 6S models draw less current than the 4S packs. And a problem with these lithium ion packs is the fact that you can't draw a lot of current from it. In fact, it says here that you should be drawing 15 amp continuous with a cheeky burst of 30 amps with just a short burst of discharge. And with our 4S 5-inch quadcopters with tri-blades, we can be drawing anywhere up to 80 amps until we get sag, and that is going to be too much for this battery. You're just going to get loads of voltage sag when you go up on the throttle. However, the reason that a lot of people switch to 6S lipos is because we have less current draw as you up the voltage. And with a powerful 5-inch quadcopter, you will be drawing 60 amps at the most, giving it death. So we're not actually that far off from the 30 amps of these. So recently I have been flying this guy. It is my favorite quadcopter of the year, and maybe the favorite quad I've flown altogether. And this 5-inch quadcopter, it weighs maybe half the amount of a freestyle quadcopter. We've got the naked GoPro on there, we've got the smaller motors, and also, which I think is important, is they are 1800 kV for 6S. So something a lot of people are missing, I think, with these Lion batteries is the fact that you can charge them, each cell, to the voltage of a LiPo, which is 4.2 volts per cell. If you leave it a day charged, then it will reduce to about 4 volts per cell. But on our LiPos, if you go down to 3.3 volts per cell, you'll start to see the voltage drop off very quickly. And if they go into, I don't know, say 2.9 volts, then you can pretty much destroy the battery from there. Not these guys. So you can go from 4.2 volts all the way down to 2.5 volts. Now in today's test, I didn't do that because I think when you start getting down to 3 volts, then, you know, you'll get fine performance out of this. You'll get a hover, but you'll have to go up on the throttle quite a bit, because at 18 volts it's performing at what, like a 5S. So that's something just to be aware of. But I think a lot of people tried these and landed them at the usual voltage you would of a LiPo and go, oh, I only got 10 minutes. Actually, you'll get 31 minutes is what I got out of this. And because this guy is probably not often asking for 30 amps because it's so small, you could even go up on the throttle and do flippy flops and that, which is something that you can't do so much on the 4S version because of the current draw. But here, you know, we've got lower current, higher voltage. Does mean that the pack's heavier because essentially we have got 2 of these 18650s extra than the 4S. Got an XT60 connector as well, which connects directly to this quadcopter. It's almost like it was designed for it, except that I did have to give a completely different tune with this guy. When I took off with it, I got instant judders and the thing flew to the sky. Just landed it, changed my PIDs, and it flew superbly with this extra weight. So I'll give you my PIDs if you've bought this. I would strongly recommend that you buy this because it's not just the case that you have to sort of pussyfoot it around. You can actually do some rolls and give it some throttle if you like. All I did was, when the voltage got to, say, 21.7 volts, which would be the point where you wouldn't want to sag any further on a LiPo, then I just backed it off. But I was surprised at how much oomph that gave with this one, and the batteries came down super cool as well. I wouldn't spend the entire time doing acro and flip-flops with it, because I think then they would get seriously hot and you'd start to damage them. Really, they are meant for doing long range with, and they are superb at that. But it's quite a heavy battery, so let's weigh it. The one thing that Lions do great is they have pretty much double the capacity for its weight than, say, a LiPo. Okay, so 3000 milliamp hour using the VT6 Sony lithium-ion cell. And that's another thing that I like as well, because, you know, if it's a reputable manufacturer and they have indeed used the VT6 cell, they're all the same if they are genuine Sony. So it doesn't really matter what label is on here, they are going to perform as good. So if I just weigh this one, it's a heavy battery, right? There's no doubt about that. It's 303 grams, but it's 3000 milliamps. Now let's take a 1550 6S battery and see what that weighs. This is a LiPo, and that one is 250. So this one, right, got double the capacity, because it's actually a little bit over 3000 milliamps. So double the capacity, but only 50 grams heavier. Pretty incredible, that, I think. So the quadcopter with the GoPro Lite camera and the 3000 milliamp hour 6S full send LR battery comes in at 559 grams. Now that is a lightweight setup for a 5-inch freestyle model. It's heavy maybe for a racing quad, but if you want it to be sort of, you know, more zippy, then you can stick, say, I don't know, a 1050 milliamp battery on there, or even an 850 milliamp 6S, but you're only going to get 5 to 6 minutes. I got 31 minutes out of this, and I was absolutely astounded, but also bored at the same time. I do think it's fantastic, though, and potentially the future, because it's not like I had to fly this one really docile. I did towards the end. Something that does happen is when you start to get down to 18 volts, which is 3 volts per cell, you have to give it more throttle, but unlike a LiPo, it just doesn't drop its voltage crazy like it does a LiPo. It just stays there if you want to hover. So I think I took it into the 17s, but it wasn't fully charged when I flew it. So I think 40 minutes is possible out of this, especially as I'm currently using tri-blades and not bi-blades. So that's an amazing achievement in itself for bi-blades. And what I love about the 6S against the 4S is that when the battery is running out at, you know, 17.5 or 18 volts, whatever 2.5 volts a cell is, of course we're at 18 volts, and all of the components on here, they're not going to brown out at 18 volts, whereas with a 4S, they might brown out unless, you know, things support 3S. So everything about this 6S battery was selling it to me, apart from the weight, but that doesn't seem to matter. It seems that the lower current draw from the 6S setup is better than going for a smaller battery, because you can give it a bit more throttle while at the same time getting that crazy flight time. Anyways, I'm going to have to go and find a 30-odd minute royalty-free song. It's going to be a boring video, but I just wanted to show you that it's possible, and maybe we're going to see these a lot in the future, I think. They are expensive. This battery from Drone Authority was 55 GBP, but then when you add up these, so these are the individual Sony VT6 cells, then about £9 each, 55 quid already put up for you with an XT60 connector. I think that's a pretty good deal. So I'll put a link in the video description as well as a pinned comment if you wish to get one. The first thing I did was go to buy another one when I saw how it performed. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.